Hi, Terry here with Bead Addicts Yarn, and today we are going to learn how to change colors and begin the design portion of our basic beginner bag. In our previous videos, we've learned how to begin our bag and make the base or the bottom of our basic beginner bag, and also how to begin the very important, the first row of the side of the bag, and how to turn the corner or turn up the side, we want to call it, I guess. We did that, and you were instructed to every 10 stitches in going through these first 3 rows here, every 10 stitches, I used 10 stitches so that you could keep your count better, because then you should end on a 10 at the very end of each round. But to tug on your yarn, your carrying threads, to keep your bag nice and even. And we left off where we had completed, or you were to complete row 3. And then what we're going to do today is begin row 4, where we're going to learn how to change colors. Now, I did do a very short video that you can find where it goes into a lot of in-depth about changing your colors, but we're going to do that again. Maybe not quite as in depth, so if you're having problems with it, you can go back and into the files and look for that. Okay, so let me switch some things around here and we'll get started on this. All right, if you've completed your last stitch on round 3 of the side, you're going to want to remove that very last portion of this stitch, or you can take the whole stitch out if you want. It might make it a little bit easier. All right, so we still have, we still have 1 stitch here, if you can see, 1 stitch left to do in round 3. Okay, so you're going to insert your needle or your hook into the stitch and yarn over, or yarn under, whatever you want to call it, into there. And here's where you're going to change your color. Now, for me, this was different than in normal crochet, what I knew, I should say. And so I had to, this was a new technique I needed to learn. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your next color, which in my pattern, oops, right here is the yellow. Okay. So we're going to, now let's pull all of our threads are in the front. Okay. I'm just trying to show you this so you can understand. And we're going to go, this is where our little yarn organizing device comes into play. All right, in the past you haven't really used it, but now you're going to want to, and because it's going to keep your yarn from getting all tangled up. Because if you keep, we're going to be doing as we go through the pattern, not for this round's just going to be a solid color, but as we go through the pattern, we're going to be constantly changing our colors. And if you keep changing your colors and don't go back, don't start from here, you're going to wind up with a bunch of crisscrosses in this, and then you're going to have a jumble in the back. So if you start doing this from the beginning and make it habit, just like other things that I've taught you, I'm a very, I guess, a methodical person, and I have to kind of do things. If I do things in a certain order, then I don't mess up. But if I do them out of order, I'm always saying, did I go back and do that? You know, or did I do that? Or did I forget something? And it always winds up catching up with me. So just like I said, when you when you're doing your first stitch of every row, take out your stitch marker, do the first stitch, put the stitch marker back in place. Well, this is another thing when you're going to change colors. So here we are. We're finishing up the last stitch in this round. So we did our first part of our stitch, then we're going to go to our yellow or whatever your accent colors or one of your accent colors are going to be in your bag. And even though I think you can see these are kind of twisted up, just keep your next color, just keep it flowing, and you want to go all the way up, okay, like that, if you can see. Just, and then for some reason I prefer doing a yarn under when I change colors. It just seems to give a better a lock on the stitch or something. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but you're going to take that and just, or you can still do it the other way that I taught you. If you want to pull it through like this and do it, that's fine too. It's whatever you want to do. All right, so now we are ready to do our next stitch, which we need to do this here so that we're setting up for the next stitch, which is going to be a different color. All right, so we're going to take out our hook or our stitch marker and make our stitch as we normally would. Okay, put our stitch marker back in place. And sometimes when you're doing this, you're going to want to give a little bit of a tug on your other color, the one that you did your last stitch with. In this one, it's it wasn't too important, but when you're doing a lot of color changes, you're going to see that your prior color is going to be loose over here. So you're going to want to tighten that up, because you want your stitches to stay consistent. You don't want it too tight. You just want to snug it up some. But for the rest of this row, and like I said, if you need to, I can show you this again, and I'll switch back to the darker pink again, just so you can see it. But you're going to continue this round 4, all in your next color, whatever you chose to do for your next color. And this color is in the pattern. I just made it just a single line down here on the 4th row, and then it's a single line near the top of the bag. Just an accent, but you needed another color for a carrying thread, because the carrying thread helps to stiffen up your bag, hold your, keep it its shape. So we needed another color, so we'll just throw a little splash of something else in there. And we've already incorporated all of our colors in at the very beginning of our bag, and I believe it was round 3 and 4 is where we put in the other 2 colors. So you should have a total of 3 threads altogether. Okay, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to show you again how to do the color change, and I'll see if I can get up close here. And you go in and you start your stitch. Okay, and then if you're going to change colors, you're going to go all the way back to your organizing device and draw that color up. Yarn over, pull through, and see here, you can see that that last stitch is very loose. So if you just pull that up so it's a little snugger, and then you're ready to do your next color in, or your next stitch in the color that you ended your stitch with. Okay, so you're going to get used to doing that as we go on. After this round, you're going to get used to doing it. So go ahead and finish your round number 4 in your accent color. Alrighty, and then I'll come back and we will actually start reading the graph and starting our design. But in the beginning, it's a little confusing, but once you get going, because this pattern is a very simple pattern, I think you'll be really happy with it, because you're going to be able to kind of relax, and you'll be able to see, or I hope you'll be able to see, and I'll try to point out what you're looking for as far as when you need to change your colors and such, so that you're not constantly looking back at your pattern. You can focus on just enjoying your creation that you're doing. Okay, so I will be back after I finish round number 4. So we're at the end of round 4, and I did my last 10 stitches, so I want to tighten up here a little bit. And I don't know if you can see, there is a little bit of a wave there, and I just want you to see, when you tighten up, you hold back here and you tighten up and do both of them. It kind of straightens that all out, takes out any slack that's laying behind in your carrying threads, and it pulls your stitches closer together. So, and another thing I've noticed in the row, the previous row here, when you know how I said when you're making your stitches to go all the way, I need a little more slack here, to go all the way up the shaft of the stitch, I found that it kind of helps to put the previous row in place a little bit. I think because it's opening up this part here of the stitch a little bit, so it's pulling on them and pulling them up, so it makes them a little bit straighter. I don't know if it's my imagination, but it just seemed that it just helped to fill in a little bit doing that. So we've completed the row, and we're ready to go on to starting our pattern. Okay, but the first 2 stitches we're going to have to change colors, so that means the very last stitch in round 4, we're going to have to back out just that little bit to change our color. And I'm using, for my diagonals, I'm using the same color as my base. Okay, and then I'm going to change, this is not really the color I'm going to be using, it's called, the color is called salmon, but it's kind of a pinkish, it's a lighter pink, salmony pink, peachy, whatever. But that was the closest I could get to it on the Easy Bead program. So what we're going to be doing in the next round is 2 stitches of our base, and then 8 stitches of our other color that we haven't used yet, and then 2 stitches of our base, and 8 and 2 and 8, and so on. Okay, until we get to the end. When you get to the end, now I want to explain here why this side is different than this side. Here, this last 1/8 of the peachy color here, this is the continuation of that pattern. Okay, so it's, you have 8 of the peach and then 2 of the pink, so we have 8 of the peach and 2 of the pink. Okay, I just wanted to explain that, so that, because they're not exact on both sides, but I wanted to explain to you why they're not. It's just continuing the pattern from here. Okay, so so we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the color. So we need to back this out a little bit. Just take that last loop out and go back in there. Okay, and then we're going to be changing back to our base color. So we're going to go, oops, that got out of the way a little bit. We're going to go back to our organizing device and draw from there and pull it all the way up. Okay, put our other threads in the front. Grab that, pull it through. Okay, so we changed our color. Now we're going to want to give a little tug on the, in this case, the yellow. Okay, to snug it up. Now we're ready to start row 5. So we need to take out our stitch marker. I'm doing a lot of stuff here. Take out our stitch marker. Okay. Make our next stitch. So we're doing 2 of these, but first we got to put our stitch marker back in place so we don't lose our place. I mean, here it's easy to tell because it's where you change color, but it's not, that's not always the case. So you're going to want to make sure you keep putting that in the right place. Okay. So we're going to be doing 2 of these according to our pattern. 2, and then we're going to change colors again. So that means when we are finishing, when we begin number 2, we're not going to do the whole stitch, okay, because we're going to have to change color. So that was stitch 1, and you'll get into this habit the more you do it. Your mind will understand it. Okay, I'm changing colors, so I don't want to complete the stitch. So so we're here, we want to change to the lighter color, or whatever your other color is, doesn't really matter. Go all the way from your organizing device, carry it all the way up. Okay, and we're going to change colors, and then we're going to pull on that pink just a little bit to snug it up some. Okay, and then we're ready to do 8 stitches of this color. Okay, so the threads are getting tight there. So 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're doing 8, so we're going to have to change colors on the next one, so we don't want to finish this off, okay? But I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of color showing through. So when you're doing like this many stitches, you're doing 8 stitches, you're going to want to come back and give a tug, hold on to these, give a tug on your carrying threads just to tighten that all up a little bit. So hopefully it'll help work some of that stuff out. And then we're going to be doing 2 stitches of the darker pink, as it says in the pattern. Okay, so we're going to switch, tighten that up. Okay, and do 2 of these. 1, 2, but we're going to change colors, so we want to stop at that point. Go back to our lighter pink. Pull that all the way up. And see there we didn't really have to pull too much on this other pink here. Oops. My yarn's not coming. Oops, my little thingy came off. I know some of you have taped your, instead of putting a clip on, you've taped your yarn organizing device onto your box, and that's great. But I sometimes take my stuff with me, and I don't necessarily want to take this. I just want to stick it in a Ziploc bag or something like that. So so doing it this way works for me, because then I can just remove it and use this stuff on the Ziploc bag instead. You know, like when I spend a lot of time in doctor's offices with my daughter, and so I usually take my crocheting to do while I'm there. So it's just easy to do it that way. And of course I put it in a bag that I made so that it's showing my work. Draw up the curiosity. All right, so we've changed our color again, and then we're going to do 8 again of the lighter, in this case the lighter pink. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to change our color. 1, 2. Change back again. And you're going to continue this all the way around, okay, so that it's looking like this, and this is our last. And when you tighten up your stitch here after your color change, you don't want to pull it too tight, because if you pull it too tight, you're gonna lose the view of this one thread here. So if you pull it too tight, you're not going to see that, so the stitch isn't going to look complete. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're not pulling it too tight, but you're pulling it tight enough. Alrighty, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I didn't get all of that. There we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, we did 7. So, but for our next part, we need to do, let me show you in the pattern here. For our next, we're finishing up there, okay, that we're right here, okay. Our next row is going to start off with a, that's wrong, that should be the pink there, that peachy one there should be a pink. So I'll go and change that and fix the file. but because we're going to want, see, we got 4 here, so that's what we want. We're going to finish up there. We're going to start here. So we need to actually, so that we don't have a definition in our, or when you're working. Okay, so we changed views here. I was having major problems with my phone on my camera, so I changed to plan B. So we are at stitch number 6. This is a lot more difficult for me because I'm doing it at arm's length. 7. Here's number 8. Okay, now we're going to change colors. So, you know, when you're changing colors, if you kind of put your finger back here to hold the stitch, it helps a little bit. Go back to our yarn organizing device, and right, I got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and that finished, that completed stitch 8. We want to see how there's an opening there, so we want to pull on our light pink a little bit. You don't want to pull it too much. If you pull it too much, you're gonna lose this part of the stitch, and we don't want to do that. So if you pulled real tight, it's going to kind of close that up. So you want to make sure you have it just right. Okay. And 2 of these. Try to keep this all in camera view for you. And then we're going to switch to our light pink. And like I said, you carry it all the way up. Let the other stuff just go where it goes. Okay, I mean, you want to keep it in the front, but if there's a little, you know, they're going to overlap at some point, but you don't want a whole bunch of overlapping. If you keep not grabbing from your source here, then you're going to get a jumble there. So there. And you can, I probably should have done it before I did this, but you're going to want to make sure that you're tightening up your, excuse me, I'm a little froggy. You want to tighten up your carrying threads too, and make sure you don't have slack in there. Alrighty. So, and you continue that all the way around, and I just happen to be at our very end here. And there's a little change we're going to do. Oh, I guess my stitch marker fell out. But I know where the end is, so we're okay. We're going to do a little change. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, what we're going to do is we are at a point here where we're transitioning from one row to the next. And a lot of times when you do that, see in these rows, you can see the difference. You can definitely see the difference in the rows. This was the yellow row, but it ends up here. And then we started our pattern row. When we get up here, if we do, instead of doing the last stitch in this row here that we're on, if we don't do that stitch and we do the first stitch of the next row, then we won't see that big transition, because in this pattern you're not going to notice it as much if you leave one out in here as if you leave it out in here where you just have a little bit of color. So we are going to change that up. And also on the pattern, I don't know if you can see this color, this peachy color, which I'm doing in the light pink, this very first one on the second row of the pattern part right there, that should be the darker pink. I don't know why I made a mistake there, but it should be a darker pink, because we're doing, if you see here, we got 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here. We come all the way down here. Here's the second row. There's 1 there, 1 of the dark pink. We should have 4 in total, and we only got 1, and then a peach, and then 2. So we need to change that. So we need to do that transition. So we're going to change our colors here. All right, I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. And then we're going to do 4 of the darker pink. Now, let me do a little bit of a tightening up here, since I didn't do it back here. I should have done it, but you want to kind of pull on your carrying thread. You don't want to pull too much on, like on the light pink, on the color, on this color, because if you do, then you're going to lose that stitch too. Okay, so in our pattern, what we did was, we did actually the last stitch right here. Let me get a pencil. This last stitch right here, okay, that was the last stitch. Instead of doing this stitch here, okay, in this round, we did this instead. Okay, and then, like I said, this should be, here should be the darker pink. So there's 1 down here, okay, and should be 3 here, so that's a total of 4. So that's why we did 4 here. And then you're not going to see that big transition there. Okay, and that was 4, so that was where our stitch marker was supposed to go, and I didn't do it. I broke my own rule. Shame on me. Okay, so now we're going to continue. We know we need to change to the lighter color. And this is really awkward for me, but I want you to see this, and since my other stuff wasn't cooperating with me, my other equipment, we need to adapt. Okay, so in our next row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the peach. So we're going to do 4 pinks, 6 peach, 4 pinks for the next row. Okay, so here we go. And I'm trying my best to keep in the camera view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, you'll get in the habit of when you're counting, when you get to your last one, and we know we're at 6, you'll know to automatically stop because you're changing colors. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but hopefully this is where you're at, and you have one stitch before your color change. So that'll be, because we're switching to the darker pink, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one will be in the first stitch of our color change in the other, from the other row. Okay, so we're going to do our color change from our source all the way up here. Our color change. And you know what I think I want to do? Let me take that out for a second, since we haven't done this lately. Let's do a little snug up here and make sure that everything's nice and tight. Okay, which it was pretty much. And if you're not at this point, then you might have miscounted. So you're going to want to go back, and or you might have missed a stitch, which that is very possible too. Yeah, that's getting way too loose there. I'm talking too much, moving around too much, and I'm loosening up my stitch. Let me finish this. Just bear with me here while I get this back to the way it should be. This is our last stitch here before our color change. Like I said, if you hold your finger there, it helps. But when I'm doing a whole bunch of other things here, trying to show you what I'm talking about, I leave go and lose that. Okay. So then we're going to do 4. See, I didn't get all of that. I'm going to catch the whole, all of the threads there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're going to do a color change again. Go back to our lighter pink in my case. Okay. Snug that up a little bit. And then we're going to do 6. And you continue on. 6 of the light pink, 4 of the dark pink. Didn't like the way that was working there. That's 4, 5, 6. I'm going to stop. Let's do a little adjust here. Pull on that. A little pull on that, but not too hard. Alrighty. Oh, I lost my thing here. Go back and fix that. Go to our source. Follow it all the way up. Get all that other stuff out of the way. Snug that up, and then we're going to do 4. And you continue around until you get to your last stitch. And I will be back after, or when I'm ready to do the last stitch. Okay? Okay, so we are at the end of round 6, and we're at the transitional point where we're going to be doing the first stitch in round 7. So, but we're not doing the last stitch in row 6. So instead of doing 6 of the light pink, we're only doing 5, and then we're going to be changing over. And here's our pattern here. Need to get longer arms here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to be doing these 2. So I probably should have, wait a minute, we need, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we're good. Okay. So we're going to be doing the last stitch of row 7. Okay, so we're going to be, what we need to do is, as the pattern goes, it's going to be, let me show you. It's easier to show you than to explain it sometimes. But we're going to change our color. Okay, tighten up that stitch. So we need to do 2 pink, 1, 2, and then we need to do, see, this is actually the part that we're doing here is this. 2 pink, 2 of the lighter color, and then 2 pink. So that's how we're ending up. But I need to change my color and move my stitch marker. So there we go. Change the color, tighten up the stitch, take out the stitch marker. Do 2 of those, in my case, the lighter pinks. 1, 2, but we're going to be changing colors again, so it's starting to get a little tricky here. Okay. Change colors again. And then 2 more. Oh, got to put our stitch marker in place. It was right there when we changed colors. Change colors. That was the first stitch, so that was it. And then 1, 2. Nope. I know I keep getting out of camera view since I changed over to this other camera, but I'm not going to have it keep cutting out on me all the time. So just bear with me. We'll get better. And then, so, okay, so we did that. We're here. There's the 2. These 2 here. And then the 2 of the darker pink are these 2 here. Okay, and then we're going to be doing 4 of the lighter. and then 2, 2, 2, 4. Okay, and then you just continue that through the whole round, and always remember to be periodically checking on your tension to make sure that you're not getting any slack hanging behind anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, but we're going to change colors. Change back to the dark pink. Take it from our source here. Come on up. Snug that up. Oh, not getting it all. 1, 2. Now we got to change colors again. 2 of the lighter pinks. Okay. One and 2. Change colors again. On this row, you'll get really experienced of changing colors. This is probably this is the most you'll be doing in, in succession like this. Of just doing a couple stitches. 1, 2. Change again to the light pink. Snug that up. Now we're going to do 4. 1, 2, 3, and that's 4. And so we're going to be changing colors again, but I want you to take a look and see what's happening here. Okay, if you can see now see in this part here, you can see that little transition there, but up in this part, because we did it the way we did it here, you're not really noticing it, so it's a little bit more eye appealing. Most likely we try to attach our strap in this part anyhow, so normally you don't have to worry about it, but if we can avoid it like we can here without really seeing too much of it, we may as well do it. And so that's the previous row there, and then this is the new one. And then where's my little thingy here? Here's my little sample of what we're doing. Okay, and that's the pattern that we're going to be doing. So we've got up to here. This is where we're doing now, is this little area right here. So we're getting there. You're starting to see a pattern going. Okay, I'll be back with the next row when I'm finished.